So the world came to know the late Christopher Reeve when he was cast as Superman. He quickly became the center point of a huge cultural phenomenon. Then in 1995, his life was forever changed. He was paralyzed from the neck down in an equestrian competition. While that led to many challenges for him and his family, they turned the tragedy into a message of hope and real change, which continues to this day. It's all detailed in the new documentary, Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story, in theaters nationwide, October 11th.
For Dad, Superman needed to be art.
Everyone stand back, please. Stand back. It's all right. Nothing to get worried about.
Think about it in emotional terms. What is it to be an orphan? What is it to be different? What is it to be an alien? What is it to have lost one home? Now you're acting something you can understand rather than just posing.
Hands down, he was Superman from day one.
We have Christopher's kids joining us right now. Say hi to Will, Matthew, and Alexandra. So, obviously, we all know him as Superman, mostly. I was telling you in the break, though, Somewhere in Time is like one of my favorite films ever. So that's one of my favorites. But we know him as Superman, but you know him as Dad. Like, what was that like growing up with everybody probably stopping him all the time because of that?
They did. I mean, to us, he really was Dad. He tried to have us have a very normal upbringing. We did not live in the Hollywood bubble. We lived in New York and, you know, had a very normal upbringing. But of course, you know, the fans were there. I remember when we were little, I mean, you'd go out in the park and all of these kids would run up because they'd be so excited to see him. And he was gracious. He knew that he needed to be the hero and he loved that attention. We were maybe a little bit jealous sometimes. But no, it was always wonderful to see.
Yeah. So Matthew, for those who don't know, explain his injuries, because not everybody really knows what went down.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a backstory. So in about 1984, Dad shot a movie of a version of Anna Karenina. And in that, he had to learn how to ride a horse. And he'd never really rode horses before because he was always allergic. But he used to inject himself with really strong antihistamines every day. And he would like go out and shoot these scenes with the Hungarian national equestrian team doing steeplechase at like full speed. And he committed to a role when he took on a role. And he fell in love with the sport and he fell in love with the activity. And so riding became a huge part of his life and our family's life. And it got to the point where he'd like to compete. He was a competitive guy. Yeah. And so he was down in Virginia.
He's Superman.
And he was doing an event down in Virginia, and he was doing a cross-country course. And he was riding his horse along, and it approached a jump, and suddenly it stopped just before the jump, but he kept going. And his hands got caught in the bridle, which meant he couldn't break his fall. And so he landed right on his head, and the full impact of a 200-plus-pound, 6'4" body just cracked his first and second cervical vertebrae, and he was paralyzed instantly. And what's interesting is that a little bit to the left, and he would have died. A little bit to the right, or he would have gotten up, dusted himself, and walked away. It was just a very specific injury in the way it happened, but it left him a ventilator-dependent C2 quadriplegic.
Jeez. Will, you were just 2?
I was 2, yeah. It was like not even 2 weeks before my 3rd birthday when it happened. So I don't remember much about that moment, certainly, but I know I was down there. This happened in Virginia. I was with my mom, and I think the story goes, and again, I don't recall, but the story goes that my mom and I were sort of packing up our hotel room. Dad went off to go ride in his competition. Then when he was done, we were all going to get back together and head off on the next adventure. And then my mom gets a call that something terrible has happened, and Matthew just explained what that was. And she's like beside herself and doesn't know anything. She's trying to get information, but she's also trying to keep her little 2-year-old happy and not scared, etc. And she went out and kicked a soccer ball with me in the yard of the hotel after hearing the news that he was maybe dead, certainly being medevac.
Probably trying to figure out how you even...
And so, but that speaks to the strength of my mom. It's apparent there, and it has been apparent in all of our lives forever, how strong and composed and determined she was to put the family first, to put me first in that situation. So yeah, I was very young.
And we saw that footage was actually, you had a birthday. Because your birthday was right then.
Right, so this happened on May 27th, 1995. My birthday is June 7th. So my birthday was right around the corner. Like 11 days later, we're in the ICU. Our dad made it through, but of course paralyzed, and life was changed forever. But I still had a birthday, and my mom still wanted to make sure that I lived as normal an existence as I could, and Matthew and Al were there, and so was this weird clown that I don't remember, but you do.
I do vividly. And I have to say, like, as a parent now and having done a few birthday parties for a kid,
Yeah.
I mean, for her to do that under those circumstances and at that time is just mind-blowingly amazing.
I mean, we're literally talking like surgical gloves, like blown up to be balloons.
That I
Like,
do remember. I
makeshift
actually
birthday
remember
party
that.
in a hospital to give.
Blow
that
them up,
sense
and then
of
you could
normalcy.
draw a face, and they've got like a funny little hand.
Well, because hospitals are scary enough for adults. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, your kid being in there and it's a scary thing, like what's going on with your father. So as we see in the film, so many people outside your family stepped up to support your dad. But y'all say maybe no one more than Robin Williams, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That was interesting to find out.
So they were classmates at Juilliard. They knew each other way before either of them were famous. They were admitted to a program there and had a fun time in New York in the early 70s. And this friendship grew from there. And, you know, it really was more than a friendship. It was a brotherhood. It stayed true throughout their lives. And what was amazing is that, you know, after Dad's accident, Robin and his wife, Marsha, just really leaned into that relationship and were there for Dad and for Dana and for us in such a powerful way. I mean, they were there at the hospital within a couple days of Dad's accident, the first people to show up. And then even to this day, we're still deeply close to Marsha and to the kids as well.
You're underselling the first people to show up bit here.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's a good story.
Robin showed up in character in the ICU as a Russian proctologist. And
That's amazing.
that is a piece of family lore for us. It speaks to who Robin was. He knew exactly how to lift spirits, but also he was an incredibly serious and intellectual person, but he had the perfect balance, and they had this really deep, nuanced relationship. But in that moment, our dad needed to laugh, and Robin could make people laugh, so he came in, and he tells the story in his own words wonderfully through archival footage in the documentary, and it's best left to him to fill in the details, but it's a little colorful, too.
I imagine so. So a few years after Christopher was paralyzed, he and his wife, Dana, started the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation is still going strong today, and it's focused on developing cures and therapies for people living with spinal cord injury, and then also improving the quality of life, rights, and resources for people living with all types of paralysis, which is millions across the United States and, of course, around the world. And what's so meaningful about it is, you know, after Dad had his accident, it was so easy to feel alone. People stepped up for him. You know, we had people in the community come and give resources, but we also realized that you were navigating this universe and there was no handbook, there's no guide to help you figure out how to get home, how to make your home accessible, how to go back to work, how to navigate insurance. I mean, all of these massive seismic changes, right as you're dealing with a new identity and all of the medical pieces too. It's this whole complex world. And what they realized is people need support. And so that's what the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation provides to this day. It is the resource hotline that you call if you're living with paralysis. They run the nation's source. There is now a handbook in hospitals and rehab centers around the country saying this is what you can do. And then, of course, the medical research is continuing and getting better every day as well.
Which is incredible. I heard something that I love that I heard was people that deal with paralysis, they actually work with the foundation. So when they're talking to these people, these are not people that are, it's not lip service. These are lip service. It's like people that, this is their life as well.
Oh, 100%. People who are living
I love
this.
that.
And the other part, caregivers are the unsung heroes in America today. And there are so many people whose lives have been turned upside down, who sacrifice their own dreams and ambitions, and they're there for their loved one. That's definitely what Dana did, and it sustained our whole family. But we have caregiver support programs as well, peer support programs so people can find community, realize that they are part of this much bigger group of people, and that we can all find strength together to get through.
Yeah, I love that. It's inspiring. You can see Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story in theaters nationwide this Friday. We're going to be right back, y'all.